The evening light filtered through the windows of Wade's home office, casting long shadows across his mahogany desk. His fingers traced the edge of the silver-framed wedding photo of him and Summer on their wedding day 5 years ago. Back then, her smile had seemed genuine, her eyes filled with love as she looked at him. Now that same smile felt like a lie etched in silver and glass. The quiet hum of his computer was interrupted by a soft ping and other notifications from a hidden camera he'd installed in their living room 2 weeks ago. Wade's stomach clenched as he minimized his work emails to check the feed. Empty room. Just like the last dozen times he'd looked, he hadn't wanted to resort to surveillance. The thought of spying on his own wife had kept him awake for nights before he finally made the decision. But Summer's behavior over the past year had become impossible to ignore. The subtle changes had slowly accumulated into a mountain of suspicion that started with the phone calls. She'd step outside to take them, claiming they were work-related. Then came the late nights at the office, the weekend meetings that seemed to multiply. Wade had tried to dismiss his concerns, tried to trust her, but it was the little things that kept adding up. The way she turned her phone face down whenever he entered the room, how she changed her password and angled her screen away from him when texting. The new perfume she'd started wearing when he hadn't given her. The worst part was how she'd grown increasingly distant, especially after their failed attempts to start a family. The specialists had been clear during their last visit 3 months ago. There was no medical reason they couldn't conceive. But Summer's eyes had told a different story. She'd given him that look, the one that said she didn't believe it, the one that made him feel like less of a man. Sometimes these things just take time. The doctor had said, shuffling through their test results. Or maybe some men just aren't meant to be fathers. Summer had muttered under her breath, just loud enough for Wade to hear. The memory made his jaw clench. He pretended not to hear a comment that day, but it had lodged in his chest like a splinter, festering with each passing week. A knock on his office door startled him from his thoughts. "Hey, big brother, got a minute?" Wade's shoulders tensed at the sound of Cole's voice. His younger brother stood in the doorway, casual in designer jeans and a fitted shirt that probably cost more than most people's entire outfits. Cole had always been the stylish one, the brother their parents bragged about during family gatherings. "I'm working," Wade replied, not bothering to hide his irritation. Cole stepped into the office anyway, dropping into one of the leather chairs across from Wade's desk. "Come on, can't spare a few minutes for your only brother." Cole's easy charm and voice grated on Wade's nerves. It was the same tone he'd used their entire lives, the one that had always won over their parents, teachers, girlfriends, and everyone who met him. Cole could do no wrong in their parents' eyes. While Wade had spent his life trying to measure up, Cole asked, "What do you want?" "Mom and Dad are planning a family dinner next weekend. They wanted me to make sure you're coming." Cole leaned back completely at ease. "They said you haven't been returning their calls." Wade turned back to his computer screen. "I'm busy. Too busy for family." Cole's voice carried a hint of reproach. "Come on, Wade. Summer's already said she'll be there." Wade's fingers stilled on his keyboard. "You talked to Summer about this?" "Well, yeah. Ran into her at lunch today, actually. She seemed excited about it." The casual way Cole mentioned seeing his wife at lunch sent another red flag shooting up in Wade's mind. How many of these random encounters have there been? "I'll think about it," Wade said finally, his tone making it clear the conversation was over. Cole stood with that fluid grace that had always made Wade feel clumsy in comparison. "Don't think too long. You know how Mom gets when we skip family events." After Cole left, Wade pulled up the security camera feed again. He'd positioned it perfectly hidden among the books, but with a clear view of the entire living room. The sound quality was excellent too. He tested it thoroughly before installing it. His phone buzzed with a text from Summer. "Working late tonight. Don't wait up." Wade stared at the message, noting it was the third late night this week. He opened their phone carrier's website, logging into their shared account. Summer's call logs showed multiple calls to and from the same number, Cole's number. some lasting well over an hour, all during times she claimed to be working. The evidence was mounting, but Wade needed more than suspicions. He needed proof that would stand up in court. His lawyer had been clear about that during their discreet meeting last week. "If you're right about this," the lawyer had said, "we need concrete evidence, photos, videos, recordings, anything that proves the affair beyond doubt." Wade had nodded, already forming his plan. "And if I get that evidence, then we make sure you walk away with everything you deserve." The memory of that conversation strengthened his resolve. Wade clicked through his email, confirming that the camera's feed was still being automatically backed up to his secure cloud storage. Everything was in place. Now he just had to wait. Hours passed as Wade buried himself in work, trying to ignore the gnawing feeling in his gut. The sun had long since set when he heard a car pull into their driveway. He checked the time, 9:45 p.m., earlier than Summer's usual late nights. The security camera feed showed Summer entering the living room, still in her work clothes, a black dress that hugged her curves and heels that clicked against the hardwood floors. She paced the room, phone pressed to her ear. "I can't keep doing this," she whispered into the phone. "He deserves to know." "No, I know we agree. But yes, I understand. Tomorrow then." Wade's heart pounded as he watched her in the call. Tomorrow, whatever was happening, it would come to a head tomorrow. He closed his laptop and headed downstairs, finding Summer in the kitchen pouring herself a glass of wine. Her hand trembled slightly as she lifted the glass. "Rough day at work?" he asked, keeping his voice neutral. Summer startled, nearly dropping the glass. "Wade, I didn't hear you come down." Obviously, he leaned against the doorframe, studying her. "You're home earlier than usual." "Ah, yes, the meeting finished sooner than expected." She took a large sip of wine, not meeting his eyes. "Interesting. And how was lunch with Cole today?" Summer's hand tightened on the wine glass. "What?" "Cole stopped by my office, mentioned running into you at lunch." Wade watched her face carefully. "Funny. I thought you had client meetings all day." "It was a quick lunch. Didn't think it was worth mentioning." Summer attempted a casual shrug, but her voice wavered. "You seem to run into Cole a lot these days. He's your brother, Wade. We're family." Summer set down her glass with more force than necessary. "Why are you interrogating me?" "Am I?" Wade pushed off in the doorframe and stepped closer. "I'm just trying to understand why my wife lies about where she's been and who she's seeing." Summer's face flushed. "I don't have to justify every minute of my day to you." "No, but you should be able to tell me the truth." Wade held her gaze. "What's happening tomorrow, Summer?" The color drained from her face. "What? I heard you on the phone just now. What's happening tomorrow?" Summer's hands began to shake in earnest. "You were spying on me." "Should I have to spy on my wife to know what's going on in my own marriage?" Wade countered. "I can't do this right now." Summer grabbed her wine glass and tried to push past him. "I'm going to bed." Wade caught her arm, gentle but firm. "No more running, Summer. No more lies. What's happening tomorrow?" For a moment, something like regret flashed across Summer's face. Then her expression hardened. "Fine. You want to know. Let's do this now." She pulled away from him and walked purposefully toward the living room. Wade followed, acutely aware of the hidden camera recording every moment Summer paced near the window, her wine glass forgotten on the coffee table. "I need to tell you something," she said, finally, turning to face him. "And I need you to just listen." Wade lowered himself into his armchair, his heart pounding, but his exterior calm. "I'm listening." "I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air between them. In another life, in another moment, they would have been cause for celebration. But the look in Summer's eyes told a different story. "It's false," she continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "We've been seeing each other for over a year now. He gave me what you couldn't." Wade's fingers dug into the leather armrests, but he kept his face impassive. "Your parents know," Summer added, lifting her chin to finally say, "They understand." They're even planning an engagement party for next week. They want us to be happy. My parents. The words came out rougher than he intended. Summer's expression softened with what looked like pity, the final insult. They've always known Cole was the stronger one, the more capable one. I tried with you, Wade. I really did. But Cole, he's everything, or not. And now he's given me the baby I always wanted. Wade reached for his phone with steady hands, despite the rage burning in his chest. Without a word, he pulled up the security app and pressed play. Summer's earlier phone conversation filled the room, followed by their kitchen confrontation. And finally, her confession. The color drained from Summer's face as she listened to her own voice. What did you do? What I had to do. Wade replied, his voice deadly calm. I suspected it for weeks. Months maybe. I just needed proof. You recorded me. Summer's voice rose to a near shriek. You can't. I can. Wade cut her off. And I did. My lawyer already has a copy. Summer's perfectly manicured hands clenched into fists. This won't change anything. Cole's wife has a copy too. Wade interrupted again, watching Summer's face pale further. Jay deserves to know what kind of person she married. Don't you think? Especially since she's carrying his child too. You had no right. I had every right. Wade's voice thundered through the room, making Summer flinch. You and Cole destroyed 2 marriages. You conspired with my parents to humiliate me. Did you really think I would just roll over and accept it? Summer's lips trembled. The baby is not my concern. Wade finished coldly. You made your choice, Summer. Now you'll live with the consequences. He stood towering over her. I want you out of my house tonight. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow. And Summer. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. When everything falls apart, remember that you did this to yourself. Summer's carefully constructed facade finally cracked. Wade, please, we could talk about this. We can. There's nothing to talk about. Wade's voice was ice. You chose my brother over me. You let my parents plan your engagement party while you were still wearing my ring. You've been lying to my face for over a year. He laughed, a harsh sound devoid of humor. What exactly is there to talk about? I never meant to hurt you. Summer whispered, lie. Wade's response was immediate. You meant to hurt me. You enjoyed hurting me. It's all there in the recording. Your tone, your words, your little jabs about me not being man enough to give you a baby. Tears spilled down Summer's cheeks. What about the last 5 years? Don't they mean anything? They meant everything to me, Wade replied, his voice soft but hard as steel. That's why I'll never forgive you for turning them into a lie. Summer stumbled backward, her composure completely shattered. Oh, I'll pack some things. Do that. Wade watched as she fled upstairs, her heels clicking frantically against the steps. He could hear her moving around above him. Drawers opening and closing, hangers scraping against closet rods. His phone buzzed with a text from his mother. We need to talk about Summer and Cole. They love each other, Wade. The message made his blood boil. All his life, his parents had favored Cole. Every achievement of Wade's was measured against his younger brothers. Every success was somehow less because Cole had done it first, better, or with more style. There's nothing to talk about, he typed back. You chose sides long ago. Now live with it. He blocked their numbers, his mother, his father Cole. Then he opened his email to confirm that both his lawyer and Jade had received the video. His lawyer had already responded, scheduling an early morning meeting. Jade hadn't responded yet, but the email showed as read when Summer came downstairs 20 minutes later, dragging a suitcase and wiping at her smeared makeup. Wade was sitting at his desk again, apparently absorbed in work. I'll come back for the rest of my things, she said softly. Wade didn't look up. Have your lawyer arrange it. Wade. Summer's voice cracked. I did love you. Once, his fingers were still on the keyboard for just a moment. Not enough. The sound of the front door closing echoed through the house. Wade waited until he heard her car start and drive away before he allowed himself to feel the full weight of the betrayal. His wife, his brother, his parents, they had all chosen Cole over him, just as they always had. But this time would be different. This time he had proof. This time they would all pay for their betrayal. His phone rang, Jade's name flashing on the screen. He answered, hearing her broken sobs. "Tell me it's not true," she pleaded. "Tell me Cole wouldn't." "He couldn't." "I'm sorry, Jade," Wade said, his voice gentler than it had been with Summer, but still firm. "I have proof. You deserve to know. I'm pregnant," she whispered. "We're supposed to have a baby." How could he do this? How could they? "I don't know," Wade replied honestly. "But I'm here if you need support. We can fight them together." There was a long pause, broken only by Jade's shaky breathing. When she spoke again, her voice was stronger. "Thank you for telling me. For not letting me live a lie. We both deserve the truth," Wade said. "And now we'll make sure everyone else knows it too." After hanging up, Wade sat in his darkening office, the glow of his computer screen casting shadows on the walls. He opened his bottom desk drawer and pulled out a bottle of whiskey and a glass. "To truth," he murmured, taking a sip. The liquid burned down his throat, but he welcomed the sensation. It was the only thing he could feel besides the cold determination settling in his bones. His laptop pinged an email from his lawyer confirming receipt of all the evidence and scheduling a meeting for first thing tomorrow morning. Wade allowed himself a small, grim smile. This was just the beginning, he thought. He pulled up his banking app, beginning the process of separating his finances from Summers. His hands moved efficiently over the keyboard as he documented everything, building his case piece by piece. He'd learned long ago that the best revenge wasn't served hot or cold. It was served methodically with careful planning and irrefutable evidence. Another text came through from an unknown number, Cole trying a different phone. "Come on, bro. Let me explain. It's not what you think." Wade's laugh was hollow as he blocked this number too. There would be no explanations, no excuses, no forgiveness, only consequences. He worked through the night methodically, building his case. Every email, every bank statement, every phone record that could support the video evidence was carefully documented and organized. By the time dawn began to paint the sky in shades of gray, he had compiled a damning collection of evidence that would ensure Summer walked away with nothing. As he finally stood to stretch his stiff muscles, Wade caught sight of the wedding photo still sitting on his desk with deliberate movements. He picked it up and dropped it in the trash. The sound of breaking glass was oddly satisfying. The sun rose fully, casting long shadows across his office floor. Wade watched the light creep across the room, feeling the weight of his sleepless night, but knowing he couldn't rest yet. There was too much to do, too many pieces to put in place. His phone had been buzzing periodically throughout the night, more attempts from his family to reach him through different numbers. He blocked each one methodically, like cutting away diseased branches from a tree. The latest was from his father's son. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Let's talk about this like adults." Wade's bitter laugh echoed in the empty house. Like adults. Where was this adult consideration when they were planning to humiliate me? He typed out a response, then deleted it. They didn't deserve even that much acknowledgement. The shower helped clear his head, hot water washing away the physical exhaustion, if not the emotional toll. As he knotted his tie dark blue, Summer's least favorite, Wade studied his reflection in the bathroom mirror. The man looking back at him was different from the trusting husband who had smiled in that wedding photo 5 years ago. This man's eyes were harder, his jaw set with determination. His phone buzzed again, Jade this time. He answered immediately. "Wade." Her voice was steadier than last night, but raw. "I haven't slept. I keep watching that video, hoping somehow it'll show something different." "I know the feeling," he replied, adjusting his tie. "Have you heard from Cole?" 37 missed calls. Dozens of messages. She gave a hollow laugh. He claims it's all a misunderstanding, and that I need to let him explain. Summers. Jade tried the same approach. Wade's voice hardened. There's nothing to explain. I have a doctor's appointment today. To check on the baby. He's supposed to be there. Do you want me to go with you? The offer surprised even Wade. But he meant it. You shouldn't have to face that alone. It was a long pause. Would you? I don't think I can look at him without falling apart or screaming. Text me the details. I'll be there. After hanging up, Wade gathered his files for the lawyer meeting. The sun was fully up now, painting the world in deceptively cheerful colors. His phone buzzed with a text from Summer. Please, Wade, can we meet? Talk about this rationally. He blocked her number without responding. The time for talking had passed the moment she'd chosen his brother over him. The drive to his lawyer's office gave Wade time to organize his thoughts. He'd chosen Strike and Associates deliberately. They had a reputation for being ruthless in divorce cases. The building itself reflected that mentality, sharp edges and clean lines. Stone, his lawyer, was waiting in the conference room. He was a man who matched his surname, solid and formidable, with eyes that had seen every possible way a marriage could implode. You've been busy, Stone remarked, gesturing to the video file on his tablet. This is exactly what we needed. Wade sat across from him, placing his own files on the table. Will it be enough? Enough. Stone's laugh was sharp. Mr. Sterling, your wife confessed to a year-long affair with your brother on camera. She admitted your parents were complicit. She's pregnant with your brother's child while still married to you. Trust me, it's more than enough. I want everything, Wade said quietly. The house, the investments, all of it. Stone nodded, making notes. Given the circumstances and the evidence, we can push for that. Her conduct has been egregious. No judge will look kindly on this level of betrayal. He looked up, but you should know they'll try to paint you as controlling. The hidden camera. Let them try. Wade's voice was steel. I can prove every suspicion that led to that camera. Every lie. Every late night. Every work meeting that never happened. Good. Stone shuffled through some papers. Now about your brother's wife. Jade. Wade supplied. I'm taking her to a doctor's appointment today. She's pregnant too. Stone's eyebrows rose slightly. Be careful there. We don't want them spinning any narratives about you and her. It's not like that. Wade cut him off. She needed support. I know what it's like to have your world torn apart by these people. Fair enough. Stone made another note. Just keep everything above board. Document any interactions. In fact, he pulled out his phone, typing quickly. I'm sending you the number of an excellent lawyer who can represent her. She deserves her own revenge. Wade pocketed the number, then spent the next hour going through his evidence with Stone. Every detail was examined, every potential angle considered. By the time he left the office, he had a clear path forward, paved with his family's destruction. His phone showed more missed calls. Cole, his mother, even his father's secretary. They were pulling out all the stops now, trying to reach him through every possible channel. Wade deleted each notification with the same cold efficiency he'd shown all morning. The doctor's office was a crosstown and upscale obstetrics practice with validated parking and a water feature in the waiting room. Jade was already there, looking small in an oversized sweater, her face pale but composed. Cole's been calling the office, she said as Wade sat beside her, trying to find out if he canceled the appointment. Do you want to reschedule? Wade asked quietly. Jade shook her head. No, this baby deserves better than a father who cheats. I need to start making decisions with that in mind. They sat in companionable silence until a nurse called Jade's name. Wade stayed in the waiting room, using the time to respond to work emails. He had no intention of letting his professional life suffer because of his family's betrayal. His phone lit up with another unknown number. This time he answered. Wade, it was Summer again, her voice trembling. Please don't hang up. I'm on my doctor's too. I thought you should know. It's twins. Wade's hand tightened on the phone. That changes nothing. But they're your nieces or nephews. They're nothing to me. Wade cut her off. Just like you're nothing to me. Don't call this number again. He ended the call as Jade emerged from her appointment, a small envelope clutched in her hands. Everything okay? He asked, standing. Jade nodded, then suddenly thrust the envelope at him. It's a girl, she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. I'm having a daughter, and I don't know how to hate her father without hating part of her. Wade wrapped an arm around her shoulders, leading her out of the office. You don't have to figure that out today, he said gently, one step at a time. They had lunch at a quiet cafe discussing practical matters like lawyers and living arrangements. Jade was staying with her sister, but she'd need her own place soon. Wade promised to help however he could. Why are you being so kind? Jade asked as they finished their meals. You could have just sent me the video and washed your hands of all of this. Wade considered her question carefully. Because you're the only other person who truly understands what they've done. And maybe, he paused, choosing his words, maybe helping you heal will help me heal too. Jade reached across the table, squeezing his hand briefly. We'll get through this, and they'll regret what they did to us. After lunch, Wade returned home to find his parents waiting in his driveway. His mother stepped forward with a face of concern that he now recognized as manipulation. Wade, honey, please. He walked past her without a word, unlocking his front door. This isn't like you, his father called out. The way we raised you would never behave this way. Wade turned slowly, fixing them with a cold stare. The way you raised me, he meant, the one you constantly compared to Cole, the one who was never quite good enough, never quite measured up. That's not fair, his mother protested. Fair? Wade's laugh was harsh. Was it fair to plan an engagement party for my wife and brother while I was still trying to save my marriage? Was it fair to encourage their affair? They're in love, his father said firmly. Sometimes these things happen. You need to be the bigger person. Get off my property. Wade interrupted, his voice deadly quiet. You chose your favorite son. Now live with that choice. He went inside, locking the door behind him. Through the window, he watched them leave, his mother wiping tears that he no longer believed were real. The house felt different now. Emptier, but somehow cleaner. Like lancing a wound. The pain was intense, but necessary for healing. Wade walked through each room, noting things that would need to change. Summer's touches were everywhere. Photos, decorations, the little signs of a shared life that now felt tainted. That is now my bedroom. He began methodically packing her remaining clothes in boxes. Each item went in without ceremony, without emotion. When he found her jewelry box, he removed her wedding and engagement rings, placing them in an envelope for his lawyer. Everything else went into the box. His phone buzzed one final time that night. A text from Cole. She's having twins, your nieces or nephews. Don't you want to be part of their lives? Wade stared at the message for a long moment before typing his response. They stopped being family the moment you betrayed me. Don't contact me again. He blocked this number too, then sat in his office with a glass of whiskey, watching the sunset on the first day of his new life. The evidence was secured. The lawyers were in place. And his path was clear. There would be no forgiveness, no reconciliation, no happy family reunions, only justice. The leather chair creaked softly as Wade settled into the conference room at Strike and Associates. Early morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the polished mahogany table. He'd arrived 30 minutes before his scheduled appointment, a habit that had served him well in business and would serve him equally well in destroying his family's comfortable lives. Stone entered exactly on time, carrying a thick leather briefcase. His assistant followed with 2 cups of coffee and a stack of folders. Black, 2 sugars, Stone said, sliding 1 cup toward Wade. You look like you haven't slept. Sleep is overrated. Wade took a sip. What are we looking at? Stone spread several documents across the table. Their first move, take a look. Wade scanned the proposal, his jaw tightening with each line. They want to negotiate. Summer's lawyers reached out at 6 a.m. Stone tapped the top document. They're pushing for a quick, clean break. No publicity, no evidence submissions, especially not the video. They're afraid, terrified. Stone's thin smile didn't reach his eyes. Cole's lawyers called 10 minutes later with a similar proposal. They're claiming invasion of privacy, threatening a countersuit. Wade's laugh was cold. Let them try. My thoughts exactly. Stone pulled out another document. One-party consent state. Your house, your camera. The evidence is solid. What about the text messages? Bank records? All admissible. They know it too, which is why. Stone was interrupted by a knock at the door. His assistant poked her head in. Mr. Sterling, your brother's wife is here for the 9 o'clock. Wade checked his watch. Send her in. Jade entered, looking markedly different from the broken woman he'd supported at the doctor's office. She wore a tailored navy suit, her hair pulled back severely, eyes sharp with purpose. Sorry if I'm early, she said, taking the seat next to Wade. Actually, Stone gathered some papers. Your timing is perfect. I've been reviewing both cases. The level of premeditation we're uncovering. That's partly why I'm here. Jade opened her briefcase, pulling out several folders. I did some digging last night. Couldn't sleep anyway. What did you find? Wade leaned forward. First, bank statements. She spread documents across the table. Cole's been moving money around for months. Small amounts at first, then larger transfers starting about 6 months ago. Stone examined the papers. These are from his company accounts. Some of them. Jade's finger traced a line of numbers. He created multiple shell accounts, transferred funds between them to hide the trail. But he got sloppy. Show me, Wade said. Jade pulled out more papers. Here are apartment rental agreements dating back 3 months. Furniture deliveries, utility setups. All in a luxury complex downtown. Summer's name is on these too. Wade noted, scanning the documents. Yes, but look at the dates. Jade pointed to several entries. They signed the lease while we were all on that family vacation in Lake Tahoe. Wade remembered that trip, how Summer had claimed a headache one afternoon, how Cole had volunteered to drive her back to the rental house. They'd been gone for hours. They were planning this the whole time, he said quietly. It gets better. Jade pulled out her phone. I recovered deleted text messages. Cole never changed his cloud password. Uses the same one since college. Our anniversary date. She laughed bitterly. Ironic, right? She pulled up the messages and Wade felt his blood pressure rise as he read Cole. Got the apartment set up. You'll love the view. Summer can't wait to start our life together. They are dated 3 months ago. Stone noted, taking photos of the screen. Well, before either pregnancy was announced, there's more. Jade scrolled through more messages. They discussed the timing, how to break it to us. Cole even joked about her voice, caught about how funny it was that I got pregnant right when they were planning to leave. Wade's hand found hers under the table, squeezing gently. We'll use all of it already ahead of you. Stone had been making notes. This proves premeditation, conspiracy, possibly even fraud, given the company accounts. With your video evidence and these messages, he looked up. We can bury them. Good. Wade's voice was steel. I want everything on record. Every betrayal. Every lie. Mrs. Sterling, Jade. Stone turned to her. Would you be willing to testify about these findings? That's why I'm here. Her grip tightened on Wade's hand. We do this together. The meeting continued for hours, piecing together their strategy. By the time they emerged, the sun was high overhead. I need to get home, Jade said as they walked to their cars. Cole texted, he's coming to get some of his things today. Wade's expression darkened. Want company? Actually, yes. She met his eyes. I could use the backup. Lead the way. They drove separately to Jade and Cole's house, a modern structure with clean lines and large windows. Cole's BMW sat in the driveway, its pristine surface reflecting the midday sun. "Ready?" Wade asked as they approached the front door. Jade's hand trembled slightly as she inserted her key. "No, but let's do it anyway." They found Cole in the master bedroom. Designer clothes spread across the California king bed as he packed them into expensive luggage. He froze when he saw them. "Jade, baby, I've been trying to reach you for days." His voice carried that familiar smooth charm until he spotted Wade. "What the hell is he doing here?" "Supporting family," Wade replied coldly. "Something you clearly know nothing about." Cole's expression shifted, trying for sincerity. "Come on, bro. Let's talk about this. Just as we used to." Wade replied, "Like when you were seeing my wife, it wasn't planned." Cole protested, spreading his hands. "These things happen. Sometimes people just fall in love." Jade's voice cracked like a whip. "While planning secret apartments and hiding money." Cole's charm vanished. "You went through my private accounts. Like you went through my marriage." Wade stepped closer. "Like you went through my life. Real mature." Cole sneered. "Does it make you feel big, Wade? Finally found a way to compete with your little brother." Wade's fist connected with Cole's jaw before the last word fully left his mouth. Cole stumbled back against the dresser, blood trickling from his split lip. "That's assault." Cole touched his bloody lip. "I'll press charges." "Go ahead." Wade's voice was terrifyingly calm. "I'm sure the judge would love to hear the whole story. The affair, the embezzlement, the pregnancies. Should we call Mom and Dad to testify? Have them explain that engagement party they were planning? They understand what real love looks like. They understand having a favorite son." Wade cut him off. "But this time, your charm won't save you. This time, the golden boy pays for his choices. We'll see about that." Cole grabbed his luggage. "My lawyer will be in touch." "Looking forward to it." Jade's voice was pure ice. "I'm sure the company board will love hearing how their CFO has been using corporate funds to finance his affair." Cole froze in the doorway. "You wouldn't dare." "Watch me." Jade stepped closer to Wade. "Get out of my house. Now." After Cole left, tires squealing in the driveway, Jade sank onto the bed. "I thought I'd fall apart seeing him. But I'm just angry. So angry." "Good." Wade sat beside her. "Use that anger. Channel it." His phone buzzed. Summer, using yet another number. He answered on speaker. "Wade, please." Her voice filled the room. "We need to talk about the babies. They're your family." "Family." Wade's laugh was harsh. "Speaking of family, you're on speaker with Jade right now." A sharp intake of breath. "Jade." "I didn't." "Didn't what?" Summer's voice dripped venom. "Didn't think you'd have to face me. Didn't think about my baby while you were sleeping with my husband." "It's not Wade. Can we talk privately?" "Nothing private left between us." Wade replied. "Not since you shared our marriage with my brother." He ended the call, blocking another number. That felt. Jade took a shaky breath. "Actually, that felt amazing." "It gets better." Wade pulled out his phone, showing her an email. Stone's team found something interesting in Cole's company records. They spent the next several hours going through financial documents, building their case stronger with each discovery. Cole had been systematically embezzling from his company, using the funds to set up his new life with Summer. Every transaction was carefully documented and forwarded to their lawyers as the evening approached. Wade's phone lit up with his mother's number. He put it on speaker. "Wade, honey." Her voice carried that familiar note of manipulation. "We're having dinner tonight. You and Jade should come. We can work this out as a family." "Family." The word tasted bitter in his mouth. "You mean the family that betrayed me? That plan to celebrate that betrayal? Don't be so dramatic. Sometimes marriages, and save it." Wade's voice could have frozen hell. "You pick your golden boy. Now you get to watch him fall." After hanging up, he turned to Jade. "Dinner. Real dinner away from all this." She nodded, gathering the documents. "Please, I can't be in this house right now." They found a quiet steakhouse across town where no one knew them. Over rare steaks and aged whiskey, they continued plotting. "Cole's company board meets next week," Jade said, checking her phone. "Once they see these records, he'll lose everything." "Good." Jade raised her glass. "To karma, to justice," Wade corrected, clinking his glass against hers. His phone buzzed. "Stone with updates. The divorce papers have been filed, complete with all their evidence." Summers' lawyer was already trying to negotiate. "They're running scared," Stone reported. "The video, the financials, the texts, they know they're beaten. Summers offering to sign away all claims to your assets." "Not enough," Wade replied. "I want it all public. Every detail, every betrayal. It'll get ugly." "It already is." Wade's voice hardened. "Set up a meeting. I want to see their faces when they realize what's coming." After dinner, Wade returned home to find more missed calls. His father this time. "Your mother hasn't stopped crying." His father's message said, "Is that what you wanted? To destroy this family?" Wade deleted the message. His family had destroyed itself the moment they chose Cole's happiness over his dignity. Back in his home office, he reviewed their growing file of evidence. Bank records showing Cole's systematic theft. Text messages revealing months of planned betrayal. His parents' messages encouraging the affair. The video of Summers' cruel confession played on repeat. His phone buzzed again. Jade's. Cole came back. She said without preamble, crying, begging forgiveness. "I made a terrible mistake. And I recorded everything." He admitted to the embezzlement, the affair, everything, offering money to keep it quiet. Perfect. Wade allowed himself a grim smile. "Send it to Stone." "Already done." She paused. "Wait. Thank you for helping me through this. We help each other. That's what real family would do." After hanging up, Wade stood at his office window, watching the city lights flicker below. Tomorrow would bring more battles, more evidence, more betrayals to uncover. But tonight, he savored the knowledge that their carefully constructed world was crumbling. Cole's perfect image, Summers' dreams of a new life, his parents, the golden child, all of it would burn. And from the ashes, Wade would rebuild stronger, harder, wiser. His phone buzzed one final time. Stone confirming tomorrow's meeting. They would face Summer and Cole across a conference table, show them exactly what they'd lost. Wade raised his glass to his reflection. "To the end of family ties," he murmured. The city lights twinkled back, promising revenge served cold and calculated. Exactly as he planned. Tomorrow, justice would begin. Tonight, he allowed himself to feel the satisfaction of knowing he held all the cards that they played him for a fool. Now they'd learned the true cost of betrayal. The morning of the divorce trial cast long shadows through the courthouse windows. Wade stood in the marble floor bathroom, adjusting his steel gray tie in the mirror. 3 months of planning, gathering evidence, and building his case had hardened him. The man staring back from the mirror bore little resemblance to the trusting husband he'd been just months ago. Stone appeared in the doorway, his heavy briefcase laden with evidence. The galleries were filling up, quite the audience for today's show. "Who's here?" Wade's voice remained steady as he smoothed his jacket. "Summer and her legal team arrived 15 minutes ago. She's showing up wearing that pregnancy like armor." Stone's lip curled slightly. Cole's already inside with 3 lawyers. "Your parents are in the center row, playing the grieving family role. And Jade, front row, ready to testify. She looks stronger than I've ever seen her." Stone checked his watch. "The company board meeting starts in an hour. Cole doesn't know yet." Wade allowed himself a small smile. He was soon enough. They walked through the courthouse's winding corridors, their footsteps echoing off marble walls that had witnessed countless family destructions. Two armed bailiffs opened the heavy oak doors to courtroom 3, and a wave of whispers washed over them as they entered. Wade took in the scene with clinical detachment. Summer sat at the defendant's table in a conservative gray dress that did little to hide her advancing pregnancy. Her lawyer, a sharp-featured woman named Pierce, whispered urgently in her ear. Summer tried to catch Wade's eye, but he looked through her as if she were made of glass. Cole occupied the row behind them, flanked by his legal team. His usual confident smirk had vanished, replaced by nervous finger tapping against his suit jacket. The split lip from their last encounter had healed, but he touched it unconsciously when Wade passed. Their parents sat prominently in the center row. His mother dabbed at her eyes with an embroidered handkerchief, while his father maintained his rigid banker's posture. Cole clenched tight enough to crack teeth. Wade walked past without a flicker of recognition. Jade caught his eye from her position in the front row. She traded her usual casual style for a tailored black suit that projected strength. Her own pregnancy showed now, but unlike Summer, she wore it like a badge of survival rather than a shield. "All rise." The bailiff's voice boomed through the courtroom as Judge Stone entered, no relation to Wade's lawyer, but equally known for his merciless efficiency. "Be seated," the judge ordered, adjusting his reading glasses. "Before we begin these proceedings, I understand there were last-minute settlement attempts." Summer's lawyer stood smoothly. "Yes, Your Honor, my client has offered very generous terms, including, we reject any settlement." Stone cut in, rising to his feet. "My client insists on a full hearing. The evidence needs to be public record." Summer made a small distressed sound. Wade didn't need to look to know she was placing her hand protectively over her stomach, her newest manipulation tactic. "Very well." The judge nodded. Judge Stone peered over his glasses, opening statements. "Mr. Stone, proceed." Wade's lawyer moved to the center of the courtroom, his voice carrying to every corner. "Your Honor, this case goes far beyond a simple dissolution of marriage. What we will prove today is a calculated conspiracy of betrayal involving not just the defendant, but multiple parties who systematically work to deceive and defraud my client." He gestured to the evidence boxes. "We will demonstrate through video evidence, financial records, and testimony that Mrs. Sterling engaged in a long-term affair with the plaintiff's brother. We will prove they meticulously planned their deception, using embezzled corporate funds to finance their future together. Furthermore, we will show that their families were not only aware of this betrayal, but actively supported and encouraged it while my client remained ignorant." Summer's lawyer followed, her voice dripping professional sympathy. "Your Honor, this is fundamentally a simple case of a marriage that ended sadly, but naturally. My client found love unexpectedly, in my brother's bed while wearing my ring." Wade said clearly, just loud enough to carry to the first few rows. Summer flinched as if she'd been slapped. Her lawyer pressed on. "These accusations of conspiracy and fraud are nothing more than a scorned husband's attempts at revenge." "Counselor," the judge interrupted, "save the editorializing. Present your case with evidence." Stone stood. "Speaking of evidence, Your Honor, we'd like to begin with Exhibit A." The courtroom screens flickered to life, showing Wade's living room. Summer's face appeared clear and unmistakable as she delivered her confession. "It's false," she said. "He gave me what you couldn't. Your parents know. They understand. They've always known Cole was the stronger one." Wade kept his eyes forward, but he could hear his mother's muffled sob. He could feel Cole shifting uncomfortably behind him. Every word, every dismissive gesture, every moment of calculated cruelty played out in perfect digital clarity. This recording was obtained illegally, Summer's lawyer protested, standing so quickly she knocked papers off her table. "My client's privacy was recorded in the plaintiff's home in a one-party consent state." Stone countered smoothly. "The evidence is fully admissible, as your office acknowledged when you tried to negotiate its suppression last week." The judge nodded. "The video stays. Continue." Stone pulled up financial records next, displaying them on the screens. Your Honor, what you're seeing is a systematic pattern of embezzlement by Mr. Cole Sterling, Chief Financial Officer of Sterling Investments. Over the course of 14 months, he diverted company funds through multiple shell accounts to finance an apartment, furnishings, and other expenses related to his affair with Mrs. Sterling. Cole's lawyer jumped to his feet. Objection. My client's business dealings are not relevant to this divorce proceeding. When those dealings directly finance the affair in question, they become extremely relevant, Stone replied. Furthermore, the company board is meeting right now to address these findings. As if on cue, Cole's phone buzzed. Wade watched from the corner of his eye as his brother read the message, saw the blood drain from his face. Another buzz followed, probably his formal termination notice. Your Honor, Stone continued, I called Jade Sterling to the stand. Jade walked to the witness box with measured steps, her hand resting briefly on her pregnant belly as she sat. After being sworn in, she met Wade's eyes briefly before facing Stone. Mrs. Sterling, the other Mrs. Sterling, Stone began, please tell the court how you discovered your husband's affair. Jade's voice carried clearly through the courtroom. I found messages between Cole and Summer dating back over a year. They detailed their relationship, their plans to leave us, even discussed how funny it was that I'd gotten pregnant right when they were planning their escape. And how did you access these messages? Cole never changed his passwords, uses the same one since college. Jade replied, her contempt evident. I had full legal access to our shared cloud account. That's where I found the messages, along with receipts for an apartment I knew nothing about. The messages appeared on screen, dozens of exchanges that laid bare the calculated nature of the betrayal. Cole got the perfect place for us. Wade will never know. Summer can't wait to start our real life together. Just a few more months of pretending. Then we can be together openly. These are dated 3 months ago, Stone noted, taking photos of the screen. Well, before either pregnancy was announced, there's more. Jade scrolled through more messages. They discussed the timing, how to hide your pregnancy from both your spouses. That suggests quite a bit of planning, doesn't it? Summer's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. Wade watched his wife's careful facade crumble as Stone methodically exposed every calculated betrayal. Under Stone's relentless questioning, his brother's famous charm evaporated. Mr. Sterling, Stone began, please explain these financial transfers from company accounts. Those were legitimate business expenses. Really? This furniture delivery to an apartment lease to Summer. These jewelry purchases. The down payment on a vacation home. Cole's composure finally shattered. Fine. Yes, we planned it. Wade was always the family disappointment anyway. Summer deserved better. Better. Wade stood, his voice cutting through the courtroom. You stole my wife, betrayed your own, embezzled company money, and got them both pregnant within months of each other. Tell me, brother, what exactly makes you better? The judge called for order, but Wade had made his point. He sat back down, watching Cole deflate under the weight of his own exposed sins. His parents' testimony was the final nail. His mother took the stand first, tears flowing freely. We just wanted everyone to be happy, she pleaded, looking directly at Wade. If you just understand. Understand what? Wade's voice was ice. How you celebrated my humiliation. How you planned their engagement while I was still wearing my ring. You've always been so difficult, his father interjected from the gallery. If you just accepted my wife sleeping with my brother, accepted you planning their future while destroying mine. The judge intervened, but the damage was done. Wade watched his parents sink back into their seats, finally understanding the magnitude of their betrayal. After 4 hours of testimony, the judge called a recess. Wade found Jade in the hallway, away from the whispered conversations, and pointed stares. You did great up there, he said quietly. So did you. She squeezed his arm. Cole's finished. The company board just voted termination and criminal charges for embezzlement. Wade nodded. Summer's lawyer tried to negotiate again during the break. "Don't take it. Never planned to." When court resumed, the judge's ruling was decisive. Summer's infidelity, combined with the overwhelming evidence of premeditation and conspiracy, means Wade will retain all assets. The house, investments, everything will stay with him. Furthermore, the judge continued, "Given the evidence of financial misconduct involving Mr. Cole Sterling, I am forwarding these records to the district attorney's office for criminal prosecution." Wade watched Summer crumble as the reality of her situation hit. No wealth, no home, no golden future with Cole. Just twins on the way and a disgraced ex-boyfriend facing prison. She tried to approach Wade after the ruling. Her designer dress did little to hide her desperation. "Wade, please, where am I supposed to go?" "You chose your path," he replied without looking at her. "Walk it alone." His parents attempted to intervene. His mother clutched his arm. "Son, please, we're still family." Wade removed her hand as if it were something dirty. "No, we're not. You chose your golden boy. Now live with that choice. We can fix this," his father insisted. "If you'd just be reasonable." Wade turned to face them fully. "Like you were when you planned their engagement. Like you were when you called me weak, difficult, disappointing. We never meant. You meant every word." Wade cut him off. "And now you'll live with them outside the courthouse." Reporters had gathered. News of the prominent CFO's embezzlement and affair had spread quickly. Wade walked past them head high while Cole and Summer tried to hide from the cameras. "Mr. Sterling, how do you feel about your brother's criminal charges?" "Mrs. Sterling, any comment on the divorce ruling?" "Mr. and Mrs. Sterling Sr., did you really support your son's wife swapping?" Wade let their questions bounce off him as he walked to his car. Behind him, he could hear Summer's sobs, Cole's attempts to avoid questions about the embezzlement. His parents hurried no comments. 1 month later, Wade sat in his office, now the CFO's office, reading the morning paper. Cole had pled guilty to embezzlement, accepting a 3-year sentence. Summer had moved in with distant relatives, her dreams of luxury shattered. His parents had become social outcasts, their support of the affair destroying lifelong friendships. Jade's divorce had gone through smoothly, Cole's conviction making it a formality. She'd given birth to a healthy baby girl and was rebuilding her life, stronger and wiser. His phone buzzed another text from his mother. "Your nieces were born yesterday. Don't you want to meet them? They're still family." He blocked the number without responding. Those children were nothing to him, just like their parents. His assistant knocked and entered with a stack of papers. "The last of the divorce documents, sir, and the board wants to meet about the company's 5-year expansion plan." Wade allowed himself a small smile as he signed the papers. He'd lost a wife, a brother, and parents, but he gained something more valuable. The knowledge that he was stronger alone than he'd ever been with their toxic love. He looked out over the city, his city now. Let them live with their choices, their betrayals, their broken dreams. He had emerged victorious, unforgiving, and unbowed, and he would never look back. Thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.